Ever feel like the world's just moving at warp speed? So much happening, and you just want a clear way to understand it all.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the noise.
Well, you're definitely in the right place. We've got a really fascinating stack of sources today. They paint quite a picture of some significant global shifts, breakthroughs that have just unfolded.
Giving you that fresh perspective on the big headlines.
Exactly. Our deep dive today, it covers quite a range. Major peace accords, public health wins.
Economic milestones, some really game-changing environmental news, too.
Right. And our mission, really, is to unpack these developments, pull out the most important insights, and help you grasp the so what of these stories.
So you can feel genuinely well-informed.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's kick things off with a big one. A major peace treaty in Africa that's been making headlines.
Ah, yes, the Washington Accords.
Signed in Washington, D.C., June 27, 2025. What's the story here?
Well, what's fascinating and really essential to grasp is the deep context. You're looking at decades, literally decades, of instability in eastern DRC. It's rooted in that huge influx of refugees from the Rwandan civil war back in the 90s.
Okay.
And this region, it's seen, well, over 100 armed groups active over the last 30 years. It's incredibly complex.
100 groups.
Yeah. And Rwanda has always justified its involvement by claiming to pursue Hutu groups behind the genocide, especially the FDLR.
The Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, right?
Exactly. But the UN and the Congolese government, too, they've accused Rwanda of using this as a pretext, basically, to steal resources. It's mineral-rich, that area.
The resource angle always complicates things.
Terribly. This conflict, it's caused millions of Congolese deaths. Millions. And displaced over 7 million people. The UN calls it one of the most protracted, complex, serious humanitarian crises on Earth. Stark language.
Truly stark. So how did this recent conflict flare up again? What pushed it to this point?
So the current fighting really kicked off again in 2022. It was the resurgence of the March 23 movement rebel group, M23.
M23, okay.
And the UN explicitly reported M23 was getting military support from Rwanda. Significant support.
So Rwanda was directly involved again.
Yes. By early 2025, M23 had captured large areas, including big cities like Goma and Bukavu.
Major strategic locations.
Absolutely. And the UN reported late last year, late 2024, that the Rwandan Defense Force had deployed, they think, as many as 4,000 troops to help M23.
4,000 troops.
Yeah, giving Rwanda de facto control over M23's operations, according to the UN reports.
Okay, so with all that intense background, what did this Washington Accord actually put down on paper? What are the terms?
The main points are pretty clear. A pledge for Rwandan troops to withdraw from eastern DRC.
Over what time frame?
Over the following 90 days. And on the other side, the Congolese government had to end its support for that FDLR militia.
Okay, a reciprocal move. Anything else?
Yes, it also aims to set up a regional economic integration framework between the two countries.
Economic integration. Interesting. Involving who?
The United States is involved in that part as well.
Right. This sounds incredibly delicate. Who are the key players mediating this, pulling it together?
It was a real diplomatic push mediated by the U.S. and Qatar.
Qatar. Yeah.
High-level engagement. You had DRC President Tshisekedi and Rwandan President Kagame actually meeting in Qatar back in March.
Their first meeting since things blew up again.
Their first in-person meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge step. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Senior Advisor for Africa, Masad Boulos, played really key roles.
So high-level U.S. involvement.
Definitely. There was even a preliminary declaration of principles agreed back in April by the foreign ministers in D.C.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. Calling for respecting borders, cooperating on economic projects, specifically mentioning critical minerals.
Critical minerals again.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets tricky, I imagine. Was everyone actually involved in this accord? Any key players left out?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? The M23 rebel group.
The ones doing the fighting on the ground.
Precisely. They were not a party to this agreement.
Not at the table.
No. And they've said publicly, any deal made without them doesn't concern them.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a recipe for failure.
Well, hang on. There was a subsequent development. On July 19th, just recently, the DRC did sign a separate declaration of principles with M23.
Oh, okay. Where?
In Doha, Qatar again.
Try to bring them into the fold.
Seems like it. That declaration aims for a final peace deal and ceasefire by mid-August, and it's supposed to align with the main DRC-Rwanda Accord including M23 withdrawal.
Okay, so a two-step process, maybe.
It's complicated.
Very complicated. A real diplomatic dance.
So what does this all mean for the region? Why should you, our listener, care about this intricate peace process? What's the big takeaway?
Well, the reactions are mixed, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
Some experts criticize it, saying without M23 initially, and with the economic focus, it looks like resource exploitation.
Right, the criticism you mentioned.
Former DRC President Kabila even called it diplomatic theater.
Harsh words. But look, others are more hopeful. Political researcher Jason Stern said, basically, this is the best chance we have right now, despite the flaws.
A pragmatic view.
And the UN Secretary General, Guterres, welcomed it as a significant step. So, the takeaway. Achieving peace in these long, complex conflicts, especially with deep resource interests, it's incredibly challenging.
Multi-layered is putting it mildly. You need buy-in from everyone, not just the top leaders.
Exactly. Otherwise, peace can just be on paper. It highlights how fragile these things are.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, let's pivot from peace efforts in Africa to another significant diplomatic move. Russia making a groundbreaking announcement about the Taliban.
Yeah, this one definitely raised some eyebrows. Russia has officially welcomed a new Afghan ambassador appointed by the Taliban.
Making them the first country to officially recognize the Taliban government since they took over in August 2021.
That's right, the first nation. The Russian Foreign Ministry was quite explicit, saying they believe this official recognition will, quote, give impetus to the development of productive bilateral cooperation.
Interesting. Why now? What's Russia's calculus here? What's driving this decision?
Moscow's pointing to high potential for cooperation, things like counterterrorism, fighting drug trafficking, energy, transport, agriculture.
Practical areas.
Right. And they've committed to backing Afghanistan's security needs. It's not totally out of the blue, though. Russia's been gradually warming up to the Taliban.
How so?
Well, last April, they actually ended their long ban on the group. They'd listed them as a terrorist organization way back in 2003.
Right, I remember that.
And practically, Afghanistan's been importing fuel, wheat, other stuff from Russia since 2022. Plus, there's that mutual interest in counterterrorism.
Especially after that awful ISIS-K bombing in Moscow this year.
Exactly. That likely played a role in the timing.
Okay, so there are clear Russian interests. How has the wider world reacted? Is everyone following suit?
Well, not quite official recognition. You've got countries like China, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, the UAE. They already have ambassadors in Kabul.
But Russia's the first to grant official recognition. That's the key difference.
That's the key distinction, yes. And it's definitely helpful for the Taliban as they try to get sanctions lifted and access those frozen funds.
Which the U.S. and others are holding back, primarily over human rights.
Primarily, yes. Especially the restrictions on women and girls, Western countries are still very wary. They keep saying they need to see real reforms on women's rights before they'd even consider recognition.
So it highlights a growing split, really, in how the world is dealing with the Taliban regime.
A definite divergence in diplomatic approaches. Something to keep a close eye on.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears again, moving to a really crucial social reform impacting potentially millions. Pakistan and a landmark decision on child marriage.
Yes, this is significant. On May 16th, Pakistan's parliament passed the Islamabad Capital Territory Child Marriage Restraint Act. Call it the ICT Act.
ICT, got it. And what does it do?
It sets the minimum legal age for marriage at 18, crucially, for both boys and girls, in the Islamabad Capital Territory.
Gender equal, that's important.
Very important. It makes Islamabad, along with Sindh province, which did this back in 2013, the only places in Pakistan with that equal standard. And it throws out the old, frankly archaic 1929 Act for Islamabad.
A big step. What about enforcement? Does the new law have teeth? Punitive measures.
It does. Much stricter penalties now. Anyone who facilitates or forces a child marriage family, clerics, registrars, anyone could face up to 7 years in prison.
7 years, that's serious.
And it explicitly says any sexual activity with a minor, even if they're married and consented, is statutory rape. An adult man marrying a girl under 18 could get up to 3 years.
Wow. Okay, so the law itself sounds strong, but what's the bigger picture? How big a problem is child marriage in Pakistan, and are laws like this enough?
That's the critical context. Despite this progress, Pakistan still struggles. It ranks, sadly, among the poor performers globally. We're talking about 1.9 million child brides.
1.9 million.
The sixth highest number in the world. Nationally, over 21% of girls are married before 18.
So over 1 in 5.
Yes, and it really raises that question. Can laws alone fix something so deeply embedded? Lawmaking is decentralized to the provinces, which leads to inconsistency.
Right. Islamabad acted, but other provinces.
Exactly. Places like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa are hesitant. Political anxiety, concerns about what's termed the misuse of religious sentiment.
Ah. And I assume there was vocal opposition to this Islamabad bill itself from conservative groups.
Oh, absolutely. Strong opposition from conservative quarters. You had a member of the Council of Islamic Ideology, Maulana Jalaluddin, publicly urging the president not to sign it.
On what grounds?
Saying it was against Sharia norms, against societal traditions, even calling it part of a Western agenda.
That's strong language. How did supporters counter that?
Well, the lawmaker who tabled the bill, Sharmila Faruqi from the Pakistan People's Party, pushed back hard. She framed it as a fundamental human rights issue. And she pointed to a 2022 federal Shariat court judgment. That ruling said setting a minimum marriage age wasn't against Islamic principles.
Interesting. What's the court's reasoning?
It explained that while puberty is a factor, things like financial well-being, health, mental maturity, those are equally important under Islamic teachings.
So there's legal and religious precedent supporting it.
There is. But despite that, you had coordinated sermons in many mosques on May 23rd condemning the act, and it's now being challenged in the federal Shariat court.
So the fight isn't over. Looking at the big picture then, what does this tell us about combating child marriage in Pakistan and maybe elsewhere? What's the real takeaway?
Well, Sindh's experience is maybe a cautionary tale. They passed their law early, back in 2013.
But you said Islamabad and Sindh were the only two.
Right, but even with Sindh's law, early marriages actually rose between 2014 and 2019, and very few cases led to conviction.
Oh, why? What went wrong?
It's multi-layered. Inefficient law enforcement, corruption, sure, but also deeply rooted social norms, economic pressures. Poverty is a huge driver.
And gender inequality, cultural norms about family honor?
Exactly. Local power dynamics. And sometimes, sadly, girls themselves see early marriage as an escape from even worse situations at home.
So the law is just one piece, a small piece maybe.
It's crucial, but it's not enough. The takeaway is that true change needs social reform, challenging those patriarchal mindsets. It needs dialogue with religious leaders and long-term investment.
Investment in what?
Education, health, economic opportunities, especially for girls. It has to go way beyond just penalties. It's about changing the conditions that allow child marriage to thrive.
A much bigger, harder task. Makes sense. Okay, from social reform, let's switch to a major public health victory. A story of persistence and global cooperation out of Burundi.
Yes, this is a really positive one. On July 11th, the WHO, the World Health Organization, validated Burundi as having eliminated trachoma as a public health problem.
Trachoma eliminated. That sounds significant.
It's huge. It makes Burundi the 8th country in the WHO African region to hit this milestone. And, importantly, it's the first neglected tropical disease, or NTD, to be eliminated in Burundi.
The first one for them. Wow.
Dr. Tedros, the WHO Director General, called it a major public health achievement. But he also stressed it requires sustained effort to keep it that way.
Absolutely. Now, for those listeners not familiar, what exactly is trachoma? Why is getting rid of it such a big deal?
So, trachoma is caused by a bacterium, Chlamydia trachomatis. It spreads through personal contact hands, clothing, contaminated surfaces.
And flies, right? I think I read that.
Yes, flies that land on infected eye or nose discharge. Repeated infections are the real problem. They cause scarring inside the eyelid.
Which leads to blindness.
Exactly. The eyelashes turn inwards, scrape the cornea, and eventually cause irreversible blindness. It's a leading cause of preventable blindness globally, especially in vulnerable communities without good access to clean water and sanitation.
Horrific. So how did Burundi manage to beat it? What did they do?
Their efforts actually started way back, even before 2007, tackling NTDs generally. But baseline surveys around 2009-2010 confirmed trachoma was endemic, a serious problem in parts of the country.
So they targeted it specifically.
Yes, they rolled out interventions based on the WHO's recommended SAFE strategy.
SAFE, what does that stand for?
It's an acronym. S is for surgery, to correct that inturned eyelid stage. A is for antibiotics, to clear the infection.
Like mass drug administration.
Exactly. Using azithromycin, which was actually donated by Pfizer through a long-standing program. F is for facial cleanliness, promoting hygiene, and D is for environmental improvement, better water access, sanitation.
A comprehensive approach, targeting about how many people?
About 2.5 million people across 12 health districts benefited from these safe interventions.
Impressive scale.
Yeah. Burundi's health minister, Dr. Lidwine Brodahana, she called it a collective victory, crediting nearly 20 years of national effort and international help.
So is Burundi's success part of a wider global trend? Are we making progress against these neglected diseases overall?
We definitely are. While trachoma is still a problem in 32 countries, affecting maybe 103 million people,
Still a lot of people.
it is. But the progress is significant, especially in the African region, which is hit hardest. The number of people needing antibiotic treatment there dropped by 96 million between 2014 and April 2024.
96 million fewer. That's a huge reduction.
A 51% drop. Massive. And globally, with Burundi, 57 countries have now eliminated at least one NTD.
57.
And 24 countries specifically have eliminated trachoma as a public health problem. Big names too: China, India, Mexico, Pakistan.
So it can be done.
Absolutely. It really shows the power of sustained global health initiatives when you have the resources, the strategy, and the political will working together. It's a hopeful story.
Definitely a hopeful story. Okay, let's move from public health wins to the economy and environment. Some truly significant news from China that could, well, reshape our future.
Yeah, this one is potentially world historical, as some commentators are putting it, drawing on data from the highly respected Carbon Grief website. In the first quarter of this year, 2025, China's co-emissions actually fell by 1.6% compared to the same period last year.
Fell, despite their economy growing.
Exactly. And the drop was mainly driven by the power sector emissions there, down 5.8%.
Okay, but haven't emissions dropped before, like during COVID lockdown?
But that's the crucial difference this time. This marks the first time China's emissions have decreased because of expanded clean energy capacity, not because of reduced energy demand like during the pandemic.
So clean energy is actually displacing fossil fuels, even as overall demand grows. That's huge.
It's absolutely huge. How did they do it? Massive increases in solar, wind, and nuclear power generation.
Driven by new investment.
Huge investments in new capacity. That new clean power more than covered the 2.5% growth in overall electricity demand.
So what happened to fossil fuels?
Thermal power generation, mostly coal and gas, dropped by 4.7%.
Wow. And this isn't some small island nation. This is China.
This is the world's largest manufacturing economy achieving this. It's a potential paradigm shift.
And it's not just electricity generation, is it? They seem to be pushing electrification everywhere.
Precisely. China is way ahead in electrifying heating and transport, too, and building electrolyzer capacity for green hydrogen.
Give us some examples.
Okay, get this. In 2023, electricity demand just from EV charging and battery swapping grew by 78%.
78%.
Adding about 56 terawatt hours to demand. That's 3.5 times more than the rest of the world combined, just for EV charging.
Incredible numbers.
And they account for 60% of global electric car sales, dominate electric vans, trucks, buses, two-wheelers, and they're the biggest market for heat pumps, too.
They're really going all in. So what does this potentially monumental shift in China mean for global climate efforts, for the future of energy?
Well, it raises that big question. Can China's example be a roadmap? Economic historian Adam Tooze noted that China's huge surge in renewable energy, above all in solar, actually puts the world on track for the first time, he says, to meet that goal of tripling global renewable capacity by 2030.
A goal many thought was just wishful thinking. A pipe dream.
Exactly. The clean energy think tank Ember confirms this rapid uptake has taken experts everywhere by surprise. Now, challenges remain, obviously. Grid restructuring is a big one.
Sure, integrating all that variable renewable energy.
Right, but achieving peak emissions years ahead of their 2030 target. It shows that with political will, with industrial policy focused on it, a sustainable future is genuinely possible. May 2025 could be seen as a real turning point.
A turning point powered by clean energy.
Fascinating.
Okay, from China's green surge, let's shift focus to another economic powerhouse. India. They just hit a major milestone.
Yes, another big economic story. On May 30th, India officially overtook Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy.
Fourth largest. That's in nominal GDP terms, right?
Yeah.
And Niti Aayog CEO confirmed it.
That's correct, nominal GDP. It's a really significant moment, highlighting India's growing global stature, its economic resilience. Quite a transformation since they started liberalizing back in '91.
Driven by reforms, demographics, the services sector.
All of those, yes.
Okay, let's unpack that term nominal GDP, though. For listeners who aren't economists, how is that different from other ways we measure economies, and why does it matter?
It's a really crucial distinction, actually. Nominal GDP is the total value of everything produced measured using current market exchange rates, usually in US dollars.
So it can fluctuate with the currency.
Exactly. If the Indian rupee weakens against the dollar, India's nominal GDP in dollars might look lower, even if their actual output hasn't changed. It's sensitive to exchange rates.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
GDP at purchasing power parity, or PPP. This adjusts for differences in the cost of living between countries.
So it shows what the money can actually buy locally.
Precisely. It captures the real value of goods and services citizens can buy domestically. And by that measure, India has been the third largest economy since 2009.
Third largest by PPP since 2009, behind only the US and China.
Correct, reflecting its huge population and lower cost of living.
Okay, so PPP arguably gives a better sense of domestic economic clout. But what about individual prosperity? Being fourth largest nominally, third by PPP, does that mean the average Indian is well off?
That's the critical question, isn't it? Does the big number translate downwards? While India's aggregate size is huge, its per capita GDP is still among the lowest in the G20.
Because the wealth is spread across such a massive population.
Exactly, and it exposes significant internal disparities. Oxfam reports, for instance, show the top 10% of Indians own over 70% of the country's wealth.
70%? Wow.
And income inequality apparently worsened after the pandemic. Plus, you have ongoing challenges like unemployment, underemployment.
And human capital,
Yeah.
education, health.
Still lagging. Public spending on health is around 2.1% of GDP, education about 2.9%. Relatively low.
So impressive headline growth, but deep structural challenges remain. What's the path forward for India to make this growth more inclusive?
While India definitely has advantages, that young workforce, over 60% under 35, a huge domestic market, a booming tech sector.
And they're benefiting from companies diversifying supply chains away from China, the China plus one strategy.
Yes, that's helping too. But to really translate growth into broad prosperity, they need strategic policies focused on human development, inclusive growth, creating more formal jobs, boosting innovation.
And managing that exchange rate sensitivity you mentioned.
Right. The key takeaway. For real prosperity, the quality of growth matters just as much as the quantity. It's not just about how big the pie is, but how it's sliced and who gets a piece.
Well put. Now, speaking of economic strength translating into other areas, let's connect this to India's national defense and industrial capacity. There's been a significant development in their indigenous shipbuilding.
Yes, linking economic progress to self-reliance and defense. On July 1st, the Indian Navy's Warship Design Bureau, the WDB, hit a really historic milestone.
What was that?
The recent delivery of a frigate, Y12652, also called Udagiri,
Yep.
marked the 100th warship designed by the WDB and delivered to the nation.
100 warships designed in-house. That's incredible.
It really is. And to mark it, the WDB is hosting a seminar called Nation Building Through Shipbuilding on July 23rd in New Delhi.
Nation building through shipbuilding. Tell us more about this Warship Design Bureau. What's its story?
It started way back in 1964 as the Central Design Office. The goal then, as now, was self-sufficiency in warship design. It became the Directorate of Naval Design in 1970.
So 60 years of developing this capability.
Exactly. And over those decades, they've been central to designing and overseeing the construction of 20 different types of warships. Everything from small seaward defense boats right up to aircraft carriers.
A huge range. And why is this capability seen as so crucial?
Well, beyond the obvious defense and security needs, shipbuilding is seen as foundational. It underpins strategic military capability, yes, but also economic stability.
Sounds about more than just the Navy. What's the broader impact for India's long-term prosperity and industrial growth?
That's precisely what the seminar is about exploring, bringing together government, the Navy, shipyards, private industry, academia.
To talk policy, future tech, challenges.
Right, because a strong domestic shipbuilding sector has huge positive ripple effects. It drives technological innovation not just in defense, but across related industries.
Strengthens manufacturing, creates jobs.
Creates lots of jobs, both directly and indirectly. Boosts self-reliance, obviously. Contributes to overall economic development. And it really helps grow the whole ecosystem of micro, small, and medium enterprises, the MSMEs that supply the shipyards.
So it's a powerful example of strategic industrial policy feeding directly into broader nation-building goals.
Exactly that. A very tangible link.
Fascinating connection. Okay, to round off our deep dive today, let's turn to something a bit different. A really vibrant success story in global tourism.
Mm.
Tanzania seems to be taking the spotlight.
Absolutely. A great story to end on. On June 30th, Tanzania really made history on the global tourism stage at the World Travel Awards, the WTAs.
The Oscars of the travel industry, they call them sometimes.
That's the one. And Tanzania scooped up a remarkable 27 awards out of the 60 presented that night.
27, that's almost half. That's incredible.
It's an astonishing haul. And what's more, it was the first time Tanzania had ever hosted the WTA Africa and Indian Ocean Gala ceremony. So winning big on home turf.
Hosting and winning big. Talk about putting yourself on the map. Which specific places or aspects of Tanzanian tourism got the nod?
Well, they got 11 awards just for top attractions, including the big one. Africa's leading tourist destination overall. And their tourist board won, too.
Okay, destination and board. What else?
The main airport, Julius Nyerere International, was named Africa's leading airport for tourism activities.
Good infrastructure recognition.
Yes. And then the famous national parks cleaned up. Tarangire won for elephants, Serengeti for the Big Five.
Iconic parks.
Absolutely. The Ngorongoro Conservation Area won Africa's leading tourist attraction overall, and even Kitulo National Park got recognized as Africa's leading honeymoon destination. A real spread.
It sounds like a comprehensive win across the board. What's been driving this incredible success? Why now?
A lot of the credit is being given to the transformative efforts under President Samia Suluhu Hassan.
Her leadership specifically.
Yes. Initiatives like that Tanzania. The Royal Tour documentary she spearheaded played a big role in promoting the country internationally.
Kind of seeing promotion for that.
Right. Plus, there's been increased government budget for tourism and, importantly, infrastructure improvements making it easier to get around and access these amazing places.
So investment paying off. Looking ahead, what does this burst of awards and recognition mean for Tanzania's economy, its place in global tourism?
Well, tourism is already hugely important for Tanzania. It contributes about 17.2% to their GDP.
Wow, over 17%.
Provides jobs, directly and indirectly, for around 3.6 million people. And it accounts for 25% of their foreign exchange earnings.
So this success is a massive boost.
A massive boost. It's expected to create even more opportunities, especially for the private sector, and really cement Tanzania's status as a major international tourism hub.
And the momentum seems set to continue.
It does. What's really fascinating, the WTA organizers were so impressed they announced Tanzania will host the Global World Travel Awards ceremony in 2026 as well.
The world ceremony, not just the regional one.
The big global one, making it the second time they'll host a major WTA event. It signals a really bright future for their tourism industry.
Assuming they keep focusing on sustainability, too, to protect those amazing natural assets.
That's the key challenge, balancing growth with preservation. But yes, a very bright horizon for Tanzanian tourism.
What a fantastic range of stories today. We've covered, gosh, quite a lot, haven't we?
We really have. From those intricate peace talks in Africa
to China's potentially game-changing energy transition.
India's economic milestones and industrial steps.
Vital social reforms in Pakistan. That big public health win in Burundi.
And ending with Tanzania shining on the tourism stage.
Each of these stories, whether it's about ending conflict, tackling disease, pioneering clean energy, building industries, or boosting tourism, they all weave together, don't they?
Absolutely. They shape the global narrative. They impact our collective future. These aren't just random news items happening in isolation. They're pieces of this larger puzzle, and they affect everyone, often in ways we don't immediately see.
Right. And as we see nations grappling with these huge challenges, celebrating these significant wins, it kind of leads to a final thought, doesn't it? How might these individual turning points we've talked about, specific peace deals, national economic shifts, environmental breakthroughs, how might they combine, interact, and maybe reshape the whole global landscape over, say, the next decade?
That's a great question to ponder, the interplay between these distinct trends.
Yeah, something for you to mull over as you go about your day.